Good evening, Windsor residents, families, and friends. This is Angie. It is Monday, May 4th, 2020, also known as May the 4th be with you. And this is your evening COVID-19 update. We do have a number of updates this evening. We'll get started with some of the lighter items and move into some of the, heavier topics, if you will. Just a reminder to families, we absolutely need you to register if you plan on participating in the car parade on Friday. Registering includes reaching out to Cece either by email or by phone and giving her some information, which will include the make and model of your vehicle, the license plate number, and who will be traveling with you. And at that time, she will provide you with a number which we will give to you on the day of arrival, and you will post on your vehicle, which will allow the residents to vote for their favorite decorations or maybe their favorite people, whatever they want to base it on. Hopefully decorations, but nonetheless, please register. It will make parade day go much smoother. We are working on a staging area, specifically the DVC building next door, working with some of our contacts to try to make that happen. As far as what side of your car to decorate, I would say probably, what side?
Driver's side.
The driver's side. All right, I was gonna say that's the left side, the driver's side of the vehicle, or all of the vehicle, your choice, but definitely the left side and the front. And it's gonna be a fantastic day. So remember, we're having two parades specifically so that we can create the safest possible environment for our residents. We want to make sure that everybody is properly social distanced, but in a position that they can see the parade well and have the opportunity to wave at family and friends. So the assisted living and memory care parade will be at 10:30 on Friday, and the independent living or club parade will be on Friday at 6:30 p.m. So morning time for assisted living and memory care, evening time for independent living. And again, the reason we're doing that is that we can safely provide seating and just let the residents have a great time without any risk of lack of social distancing, etc. It's going to be a bit of a process to make sure that we get everybody outside of the community, using the elevators very cautiously with minimal number of people in each car. So it is going to take us some time, but that's the story. So we hope to see a lot of you, but please, every car needs to be registered. Thank you for that. All right. Other thing. Mother's Day is Sunday, so we've got the parade on Friday. We've got donuts on Saturday with Little Blue Truck Donuts, and then on Sunday is Mother's Day, where we're going to have a great Mother's Day luncheon served to you at your door. But we will also be helping to facilitate family virtual visits via the Windsor devices. As you know, we've talked about, we have two devices that we use for this. We've put some policies in place for Mother's Day specifically. All calls will need to happen by appointment so that we can make sure we are with the resident and we have staff allotted to that. Please call CC as well to schedule your call time, and it'll just help us have a much smoother day where we can make the most possible opportunities for residents to speak to families. So again, please register in advance. It's going to be on a first come, first served basis. So the sooner you call, the more likely you are to get a slot that you like. So please help us with that. All right. So as we sit here on this day where Governor DeSantis has started to pull back on some of the restrictions here in the state of Florida, I, as the leader of Windsor, probably become as concerned as I've been throughout this pandemic, because I think previously there was a lot of fear and concern about the potential of contracting COVID-19, whereas maybe as of now, 50 days into this, 60 days into this, people are relaxing a little bit. Well, I think that our ability to be diligent and vigilant and determined to maintain a COVID-free environment is going to be key in maintaining a COVID-free environment for our residents. We are seeing an uptick in the number of families and friends that are coming on site and trying again to have hand-to-hand interactions, whether it's handing over some papers or dropping this off or dropping that off. And again, my heart aches because I want to be able to allow those things to happen. However, it's just one potential touch that can lead us down the road of leaving our COVID-free life behind. And I talk to you a lot about how much I read and the research I do, and I kind of live and breathe COVID, unfortunately, or maybe fortunately, because it helps me stay focused. That we have to really stay on point as far as our actions. We have seen over 16,000 older Americans in senior living communities become infected and pass away from COVID-19 in the country. In Florida alone, 1% of all senior living residents are affected with COVID-19. Okay. As an example, there is a community in Polk County, and again, I'm not gonna say they're not a bad place. It's just, this is what this disease does. 139 residents, which is just about as many residents as we have here at Windsor. 68 residents COVID positive. 54 of the 68 residents were hospitalized, and 14 have died. Okay, so of the 68 residents, which is right about 50% of their population, has been infected with COVID, and 100% of those 68 residents have either been to the hospital or passed away. And as I've mentioned before, it's not something we are willing to compromise on because your lives are too important to us. And that's where we stand on this topic. So we will continue to insist that there not be hand-to-hand interactions. We would highly encourage family members that are thinking of taking loved ones to appointments to not do so. If you do and you have to and there's no other choice, for an essential physician's visit, wear a mask. Have your parent wear a mask. They should be in the alternate side of the back seat of the vehicle, so as far away from you as possible. You don't touch. You wipe down the vehicle before they get in, okay? I love these residents, but as their adult children, I know, and as residents, I know that you love your families, and this COVID-19 doesn't have any place in your families. So we need to continue to make the hard decisions. That's me as the executive director of Windsor, you as the residents, and the family and friends that are listening. Is we have to fight that urge to not socially distance, or to see each other, or to take to a physician's appointment and then stop by this place or that place. It's hard, but it's the only option right now. We are a vulnerable population, and if this darn thing gets in, the odds are not on our side, no matter how hard we work. So the best possible scenario is we keep it out of Windsor completely. And the only way I can do that is if we do it together, whether it's a resident, a family, a friend, or a staff person. We all have to do our part. It's going to take 100% cooperation for us to do that. And that's asking a lot, but it's our only option right now. So I hope that, unfortunately, by talking about those numbers, that it's a reminder of how very real COVID is. And with the increase in activity in the local area, etc., people are going to get back on their heels a little bit and think, oh, well, the governor's opening this. We can go out to a restaurant, or, oh, I can go do that, elective doctor's appointment that I've been putting off. It's not time yet. It's not time for us as a community of older people who are at risk for infection and at risk for complications if infected. So please fight that urge. I'm still fighting the urge to, I think to myself, okay, when's it time to go home, to pack it up and go home and start commuting back to Windsor? And I just can't get comfortable with it, because part of me says if I'm asking the residents to do this, I need to do it too, because it's that important. You're that important to us. So I'm sorry for the preachy lecture, but it makes me more uneasy now, because I think people are getting a little bit more comfortable and complacent, and we 100% can't afford to be. That one package that doesn't get cleaned, or that one resident that goes out to an appointment and doesn't self-quarantine, we just can't afford it. So a couple of things in that vein that I want to clarify is we have been providing a lot of work orders, which is great. But a resident brought up a really good point today is, the person that came into my apartment today isn't staying on site, are they? No, they're going to and from. Well, I don't really know that I want that interaction with that person. So again, part of our plan was to decrease the number of interactions you're having with staff. So that said, we're going to really work harder to make sure that we're evaluating work orders. Any non-essential work orders will be pushed out, okay? Whether it's a water filter or it's hanging some pictures or whatever it is. Essential work orders would be, I don't have water, I don't have hot water, my toilet's plugged, or what's the right word for that? Stopped up, I guess. Whatever it is, we're gonna deal with, I have a leak, all emergencies. But the non-emergency things, the more elective things, we're gonna put off, because you know what? That resident's right. We need to really decrease those interactions when not 100% necessary. Same thing with housekeeping. We, in the club, have been doing housekeeping by request. It was only intended to be a one-time thing until we enter phase 1 of our reopening plan. So if you are a club resident and you've already have had your housekeeping tended to within the last couple of weeks, that's going to be it for a while. If you have not had your apartment cleaned and you're a club resident and would like a staff person to come in, we will do that. Remember, they're in full PPE, full protective gear, and you are asked to leave the apartment while they're cleaning. Okay, if you can make it through and don't need cleaning or just need a couple supplies, that would be our preference, because again, the goal is to decrease the number of interactions with staff. Okay. Residents who have personal aides or private duty aides or caregivers that come in to provide supplemental services to them. We've had a couple of instances in the last couple of days where individuals are coming into the building. Maybe it's after hours, so the tent isn't there, or the tent is there and then they're taking off their mask, but they're not wearing their mask when they enter the building. So this is something that we are enforcing. I'm going to put up some new signage to remind everyone, residents included, that if upon entering the building, you should be wearing a mask at all times. Not in your apartment, of course, but in any of the common areas. Wear a mask. And again, one of our most challenging things is the mask is being worn like this, okay? Down under the nose. I know it's uncomfortable. Believe me, our poor cooks. Oh gosh, I had a cook say to me today, "Oh, Angie, it's hard to breathe." Like, oh my goodness. I'm not a cook, but I can imagine. I mean, when you go outside in this thing on a hot day, that's bad enough. So to be cooking over steaming water, but you think about an area with such high risk for transmission of disease, it's in your kitchen, right? That's why we wear gloves and everything when we're not in a COVID environment. So please, over your nose, when inside the building, all the time, mask on, except in your apartment, and outside the community. If you are in a group, we have a group of people that sit outside every night and talk, pretty much social distance, but I'd still wear the mask. If you're exercising by yourself, I think of Phil does his laps, Nell does her laps. If you're alone, you're good. Get some fresh air, but have that mask in your pocket ready to put on as soon as you get ready to enter the building, or as soon as people come around, okay? So that's going to be key, and that's going to be a long time coming that we're probably going to be wearing masks. So, but that's a big part of our current infection control and mitigation strategy as masks. So if you have a private duty aide, which is where I started, if you have a private duty aide or someone that works for you directly providing supplemental healthcare related services, remind them, you as their employer or person that's contracting with them, please remind them they need to be wearing masks at all times. If we do have someone that's not going to comply, we will remove them from the property and let you know, or if appropriate, whoever they work for know, and they will not be permitted back on site until they can adhere to our personal protective equipment policy. And again, that's for everybody's safety. It's not fair to have one person affecting health and safety of all the residents. Let's see. All right. I alluded to this a few minutes ago. This is a policy that's been in place for some time, and I just kind of need everybody's help. We have said that if you go off site, even if it's for an essential physician's visit, whatever it is, upon return to Windsor, you need to self-quarantine for 14 days, okay? As we go out to physicians' offices, etc., their interactions with the public, we are at increased risk for COVID, and you are at increased risk for COVID infection, and therefore, we are at greater risk for COVID infection. So, any off-property visits, you are expected to self-quarantine for 14 days, okay? Club residents will receive a daily visit from the wellness navigator to screen for symptoms and temperature. And of course, assisted living and memory care residents are managed by the nurses. But all levels of care, independent, assisted, and memory care, the expectation is self-quarantine for 14 days. Okay, that's why we urge you to only go out for essential visits. Okay, it's not, it's not worth it. It's not worth it. And we have some residents who aren't complying with that, and we're fighting that battle. But it's challenging because I get it, you don't want to stay in your apartment for 14 days. I get it. But I, as an individual living at Windsor, I don't have the right to make a decision, a personal decision, and then allow that decision to affect my neighbors. Okay, that's senior living. So we have to just kind of be reminded of that. Yeah, it only affects me, but that's not actually true. It does affect the whole community. So just revisiting that. I talked about housekeeping. That's a one-time thing for club residents until we get into phase 1 and a more regular schedule will begin again. It was just that this thing was going so long, we wanted to offer a clean, but it's a single clean. It's not a weekly clean or a bi-weekly clean at this point. Let's see. I think that is about it, except for case update. In Florida, we had 819 new positive cases, which is still a pretty significant number, taking us to a total of 36,897. And we had 20 deaths, taking us up to 1,399. Osceola County, got the hiccups. Osceola County, 516 cases. 136 of those cases led to hospitalization with 8 deaths. Orange County, 1,438 cases led to 281 hospitalizations, which led to 35 deaths. The good news, which we're going to keep focused on, is the data I'm seeing, hopefully they're updating it, is the 34747 zip code is at 32, and it's been at 32 for a good handful of days now. Sorry, I got an itch on my nose, and I'm trying not to touch my face illegally. It's my wrist, pardon me. So no change there, which is great news. So, but again, just to repeat, and I may be a little repetitive, but 1% of senior living in the state of Florida is affected by COVID-19. Over probably close to 17,000 deaths now across the country in senior living. And I hate to use one of our communities, another community in the state of Florida, senior living in Polk County, but unfortunately it's a good example of what can happen and what can happen quickly if you aren't just diligent and draconian, if you will. 139 residents at this community, 50% or 68 residents positive for COVID-19. 54 of the 68 hospitalized and 14 passing away. So all 68 that were affected have had a poor outcome, and I'd assume, unfortunately, that with 54 hospitalizations, that there will be more deaths. Addition to that, 22 of their team members, their staff, positive for COVID as well. So I'd be interested how they trace that, if they trace it, to see how it started, where it came from. We're seeing more and more information about that, how things started, how things got in the communities, whether it was a resident visit or a family member or a staff person. It can be any number of things. So all we can do is control what we can control, and that's what we do. So I think that is about it for this evening on May the 4th. I hope you had a great day. Tomorrow is Cinco de Mayo, so plan for some Mexican food and hopefully some music along the way and maybe a margarita. And we'll try to make it another great day, and we'll try to make it another COVID-free day. So that's it for this evening. I'll look forward to talking to you tomorrow, and I look very much forward to Friday and the parade of cars and what everybody comes up with, but more importantly, just kind of us being together, even though apart. Looking forward to that, and we are really looking for everybody's cooperation in making that a fantastic day. So that's that. Everybody have a wonderful night.